Today's reading is Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. The Lord makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. You restore my soul, O Lord, and guide me along right pathways for your name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup is running over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The Gospel according to St. John, the 10th chapter. In language that recalls the 23rd Psalm, Jesus describes himself as the shepherd who cares for his sheep. He is willing to die for them, and he is able to overcome death for them. The reading begins at verse 11. Jesus said, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand, who is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away, and the wolf snatches them and scatters them. The hired hand runs away because a hired hand does not care for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock, one shepherd. For this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it up again. I have received this command from my Father. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ.
So, those people that know me just a little bit know that I enjoy techie kinds of things. Most often, I can't tell you how any of it actually works. All I know is that the level of complexity is fairly high, and the coding for many of the electronics that I really love, it's so good. So, if you have a smartwatch, and if you have the same brand of smartwatch as I do, did you know that there's a built-in app that measures the sound and will alert you if you are exposing yourself to an unsafe level of noise for too long of time period? I mean, I think that's so cool, right? Now, the fact that this particular app comes standard and is meant to be used to promote positive health and wellness, well, that says something about the world in which we live. If you want to find the unspoiled sounds of nature without noise pollution, well, that is really hard to do. So hard, in fact, that the people who try and record these sounds, these nature sounds, they blog about it, and they have helpful hints for their community and anyone trying to capture these kinds of unspoiled sounds of nature. So, for example, here is a handy chart to help find the best days and times to avoid specific forms of noise pollution. I mean, take a look at this. The best days to avoid aircraft noise. Tuesday and Wednesday between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. That's crazy. And then I just have to share a quote from this same resource. The person who wrote this blog says, "I once recorded 4 hours of audio on a lake, and the aircraft traffic was so great, the longest section of audio I could salvage was only 4 minutes. Within that time period, or within the time period of 4 hours, only 4 minutes did not have noise. That is a 60-to-1 ratio, or another way of looking at this is that at this particular lake, at this particular time, out of an hour, only 1 minute, there will be no noise." Wow. In the Gospel of John, Jesus is described as the Good Shepherd. Not just a shepherd, but a good shepherd. That is a popular image of Jesus, which is often portrayed in all kinds of artwork. But even so, it's not an image that we have a personal connection to. I mean, how many shepherds do you really know, right? So let's try this. The word shepherd and pastor are virtually synonymous. In English, the word pastor comes from the Latin pastus, the past participle of passer, which means to lead to pasture, to set to grazing, cause to eat, and comes from the root pi, which means to feed, guard, or protect. What can I say? The etymology dictionary is my friend. So the point I'm trying to make is this. A shepherd is one who pastors or cares for the needs of another group of beings. That's the job description. And maybe that gives you a little bit different picture of the shepherd. To go along with this metaphor, the gospel writer says that those entrusted to the good shepherd, the one who pastors, they hear his voice. That's how they know where to go, what is safe, what is good. To be cared for and guided in this way is a wonderful thing, as long as you can hear the voice of the shepherd. Fortunately, we are pretty good at identifying voices. Let me give you an example, but hold on a second. I need to change locations in order to do that. I remember when Emily and I first had kids. We were seen as magicians by people who did not have kids. So we would be out somewhere at a playground, like the one behind me, with a bunch of kids running around everywhere. And eventually there would be a scream coming from a child, and our childless friends would look at us all concerned and say, "Well, aren't you gonna go see if your kids are okay?" And we would say, "Oh, that's not our kid." Or if it was, we might say, "Oh, she's fine. That's a happy scream." And they would look at us like we were crazy. I mean, how do you know? And we would be like, "Well, because we know our kids' voices. We know what they sound like. We can hear them." But it was possible that on nice days, that there would be so many kids on the playground and the voices were so loud that we could not tell who was saying what. It was all just a bunch of noise. And in those times, we had to be much more intentional to listen for our kids. I wonder if that is not happening to us right now. There's a lesson to be learned from this for us today. Like I said earlier, I am a techie kind of person. So of course I have a cell phone. Our family has 3 of them. We have school tablets and personal tablets. So because school is in session, we have, 6 right now? Jeez, that sounds so bad. But on the plus side, we only have 3 TVs. However, I do have smart speakers throughout the house. I like to stream music through all of them when I clean. I have wireless earbuds for when I work out, and an air purifier that provides excellent white noise when I sleep. I get in the car and I turn on the radio because, what else would you do? I come to work and stream live radio in my office. Every day I hear the voices of my kids and spouse, normally talking about who needs to go where when. And it's a great day in our house when there are no voices that are yelling or preteen sarcastic voices. I hear the voices from people who are complaining or joyful or in need. I hear voices that are angry, so angry. In my news feeds, I sometimes see a video of a bunch of talking heads all lined up trying to talk over each other. We have it down pretty well that we can go to a particular channel on TV or a website and hear voices that say exactly what we think, and if we try really hard, we can surround ourselves with these voices so that we will never have to hear another voice to the contrary. I'll stop now. There is so much noise in my life, and I have set it up to be that way. Is yours different? Really, is your life any different? Here's a question for you to answer for yourself. Do you think that there is a connection to the amount of noise in your life and your ability to hear God? I know things are bad when I am sleeping and the power goes out and I actually wake up because the silence is so loud. Without the noise of fans or small motors constantly running to keep my food cold, I can't sleep. In my life, silence is an indication that something is terribly wrong. Right now, if I were just to stop talking, how long would it be? How long would it take you for you to start to feel nervous or anxious and rush to fill the silence with something? The problem is that the voice of the Good Shepherd is not loud or obtrusive. It's not demanding or angry or rude. It's not going to scream at you, demanding that you pay attention to it. It's not needy or a whiny voice that you just can't help but to hear. I can't guarantee that the Good Shepherd's voice is one that you will agree with or one that will agree with you, because the shepherd's voice is one of love. And love, by the nature of love, desires and makes room for the many voices, especially the ones that you are working to tune out. Sometimes, maybe most of the time, the other noises have to be toned down before you can hear the voice of the Good Shepherd calling you to life. But how much time do you make for quiet in your life? And just because there is not any noise around you does not mean that there isn't a bunch of noise inside your head full of self-talk about your busyness or what you have to do or what you're worried about. What is it about silence that is so difficult? I have to ask myself, does my schedule, my time, my life look like that of a person who wants to hear the voice of God? Maybe the healing or guidance that we so desperately crave is not going to come from one more meeting or therapy session or another sermon, but from simply adopting a posture of listening in this world, listening for the voice of God, the Good Shepherd, whose voice leads us to the green pastures of life by helping us to hear what it means to be human, what it sounds like to love and be loved unconditionally. I'll let you in on a not-so-secret secret. The great spiritual teachers over the centuries who have followed Jesus, the Good Shepherd, practiced intentional silence to better hear the voice, because the way of grace and mercy and compassion, it's not loud, but it is powerful, and it is life-giving, like green pastures and still waters to the sheep that hear the shepherd's voice. So today, may you find time to be intentional to be still. May you adopt a posture of listening in a life that is full of noise. May you sense God in the silence and in the soft voices of others, that you would find life and peace and wholeness. This is the good news that we hear today. Thanks be to God for that. Amen.